And welcome back to Saturday Agenda. I'm Joe Pinion. Well, the National Rifle Association has filed for bankruptcy. According to legal filings in Texas, America's biggest gun lobby also says it may leave New York State. I can only wonder why. New York's Attorney General Tish James has been on a warpath trying to get the NRA on something, anything. Here to discuss it, we are joined again by Hans van Spakovsky, also the great Alan Dershowitz. So, let's talk about the NRA right now. They're obviously trying to restructure and in some ways get out of the clutches of New York State. Do they have a pathway here? Are you able to basically dissolve and also restructure in a new state, Professor Dershowitz?
Bankruptcy laws give you tremendous flexibility. The goal of bankruptcy laws is basically to get you back in business and to allow you to continue as long as you can satisfy all of your obligations. Look, here we may have a real argument and debate. I think the Attorney General of New York being out to get anybody is wrong. That's not the job of the Attorney General. But I'm a strong supporter of reasonable gun control. I support the Second Amendment, but I support reasonable gun control. So I am not a supporter of the NRA. I think the NRA has been unreasonable in its approach to a gun control. And if it goes out of business as the result of losing the support of Americans, I wouldn't shed any tears. But even though I oppose the NRA, I would also oppose any unfair methods of trying to attack it, because that would basically violate constitutional rights of an organization that has the right to advocate for what I personally disagree with.
Now, Hans, I'll come to you because to that point, obviously, the NRA is not the keeper of our Second Amendment rights. That belongs to the Constitution. But to the professor's point, do we feel as if there are states, particularly with New York, that are using undue burdens and undue pressures to try to, number one, restrict those Second Amendment rights, and then also curtail the activities of organizations that are supportive of those rights? And what, if any, is the legal remedy to ensure that organizations that advocate for Second Amendment rights and other rights, for that matter, are treated fairly?
Well, look, as Professor Dershowitz says, it is wrong for a state attorney general's office to go after an organization looking for a violation of the law, not investigating because they know about a violation of the law, but trying to find a violation of the law because they don't like its activities. And I think a lot of people seem to forget that included in the First Amendment, among the freedoms that everyone knows about, the freedom of speech and religious freedom, is the right to petition the government for redress of grievances. That means that we have a First Amendment right to advocate for the positions that we believe in. And look, there are plenty of organizations out there that advocate on issues that, like Professor Dershowitz, I don't like them. I don't like the positions, but they have an absolute right under the First Amendment to engage in those kind of lobbying activities. And it is frankly wrong for states to go after those organizations because they don't like the political message that they are giving. And that seems to be what's going on here. And that is part of this whole trend to censor political speech and political advocacy of those that the big tech and state governments don't like. And let me tell you, that is a very bad trend in this country, and one that everyone should fear, no matter what side of the political aisle they're on.
Well, and to that point, Professor Dershowitz, so, we throw around this phrase, fruit of the poisonous tree. How does one even begin to prove that the way in which people are looking into the NRA, or perhaps even that matter, the manner in which people are looking into organizations like Parler or other conservative organizations, particularly those in the tech space where conservatives find themselves under attack? How do we find methods kind of in the legal basis to make sure that we can prohibit people from abusing the law to attack people for exercising constitutional rights?
Well, there are a lot of ways of doing it. Most states and the federal government have freedom of information laws, which allow citizens and the media to get access to papers of public figures. And I think in the Attorney General of New York case, she has been so biased. She has, and now she ran for office declaring that she would get Donald Trump, that she would find something. It's, Lavrenti Beria, the head of the KGB during Stalin's time, said to Stalin, "Show me the man and I'll find you the crime." That's not the way American law enforcement should operate. Now, when it comes to private large companies like Google and Facebook and Twitter, it's much more difficult because they too have First Amendment rights, which I believe they're abusing by being selective and censoring and doing what they're doing, which is why my show, The Dershow, is on Rumble, because Rumble doesn't do what YouTube does. It doesn't censor. And so I can say what I want on The Dershow, on my show, and it gets put on the air. But attacking the major private media companies is much, much harder to do. We're seeing antitrust lawsuits now. There will be discovery. And in discovery, maybe some of these documents will come out, and maybe you will be able to determine that they are being selective and how they pick and choose what to put on their platforms. But that's a much, much harder question when the government goes after you, because the government is precluded by the First Amendment, whereas the private companies themselves have First Amendment rights.
Absolutely. Going to have to leave it there, Hans. Alan, thank you so much to both of you for joining us. We're going to continue to look at this crackdown on free speech for conservatives. A new tech CEO who's getting caught in the crossfire will join us next.